The other thing I wanted to ask you about, because this is a good intersection of both of our areas of work and research, is I've done a lot of research on personality traits and the psychology of leadership, and you're an expert on the kind of social media side of leadership. And should leaders be on social media, or if they are, how should they be using it?
So it's such interesting times, isn't it, for where are the leaders, you know, and absolutely. I mean, my view is that to be a leader, you need to have followers, right?
Yeah.
You can't just say I'm a leader.
Yeah.
And it's about, and it's not just about vanity and, oh, I've got this many followers on this. It's about having a voice and being able to encourage, support, communicate with clarity, and be there for your team, and keep them motivated, and you know, make sure that they've got the questions that they're asking answered, and that is what people need, especially in times of uncertainty. They need clarity, they need support, they need to know that there's people there to support them, and they want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, you know. And so I think it's a critical time for leaders to be communicating well, and just as we were talking about earlier, communicating in a way that resonates with their audiences and with their teams. So social media channels can be the perfect way to be doing that, because they can create a YouTube channel, they can come out onto Instagram, they can you know, create something on a video and share it on Twitter or whatever, you know, or the more formal kind of LinkedIn. But whatever they're saying, it can be multi-platform. It can be put onto YouTube and it can be shared across the organization. So I do think it's important. I think it's critical that leaders can't just sit quietly in the boardroom and plan and strategize and get it all organized without having a voice and coming out and actually sharing that with their audiences, whatever that audience is, whether it's their customers, whether it's their, you know, their internal team, whether other stakeholders.
So how do you get started? Like, if you're a leader who is not very comfortable with social media or don't have a lot of experience with it, maybe worried about making some slip-ups online or saying the wrong thing or being a bit tone deaf, how would you get started, or what would be the first kind of steps to take in doing that?
Well, I think, you know, plan what you plan what you want to say, plan what you want to, you know, what that's going to look like. So have all of that clarity that we talk about in the book, you know what you're going to say, know what it's all, what you want to be known for, know what you're going to be doing and which platforms you're going to be using and how they operate. Get onto those platforms and start looking and listening at what others are doing, and understanding how the platform works. You know, what does that mean? Because I think some people think, oh, I went on and I did a video and nobody engaged with that because I didn't get lots of likes or hearts or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean nobody engaged with it. You know, there's a lot of that, the way that the content works, more people often see it than engage and do something, but you know, you're probably still getting a lot of impressions. So don't get caught up in the vanity metrics, get caught up in understanding what it is you want to say, and then get on and start listening, look at what others are doing, see what you think is inspiring, and critically get out there and start doing it, because we all make slip-ups, we all make mistakes, and we've just been talking about how forgiving people are, you know, and you have to be vulnerable and you just have to get out there. I've interviewed, you've been on my podcast, I've interviewed so many leaders on my podcast now, and I always ask them the same question: what advice would you give to any other leader? And they say, you've just got to get out there, you've got to step out of the comfort zone, get over the fears, and just be courageous and just get on with it. And once you start, it's actually quite good fun.
Yeah, and the Vanity Metrics is a good point, because we talked about that a lot in one of the case studies in the book about not getting too caught up in the likes, but also not buying metrics too, because you can buy followers or likes or whatever, but it's completely pointless. It's a waste of money, and it often screws up the algorithm, so it makes your channel worse anyway, right?
Absolutely.
So you can kind of fake all of that stuff to look good, but often people know anyway. Like, people can tell you're faking it. If you get 1 million followers overnight, obviously you paid for it. Or, so it doesn't really make sense to do, and it's not a good business decision.
It's not. And also, it's about, if you think about networking and you take it back to the practicalities of networking, and we look at this in the book as well. If we look at online networking versus offline networking, and the value of your online network is as critical as it is with your offline network. And that means you can't network with 1 million people. It would just be impossible. So it's quality over quantity is key. It's
Absolutely.
key in your offline networks. It's key in your online networks. And I think that, because of where social media came from, and it started out, and you've got, they've got 10,000 followers. Wow, they must really know stuff. No, they could have just spent $50 and bought them. Because we've still got this mindset around that. I think leaders coming on there feel that, if they've only got a few followers, it looks terrible. It doesn't look terrible, because those followers could be every single world leader. And you might have 100, but whoa, what connections are they, for reach and connectivity? And it's all about relevance, isn't it? And we cover that in chapter after chapter throughout a number of the chapters in the book, about how really your audience is relevant, your message is relevant, the channels and platforms that you use are relevant. It's all about planning that relevance. So you're absolutely right. Don't get caught up in the vanity metrics.
Yeah, absolutely.